Hi, and welcome to episode 4 of the Braincast. I'm your host, Brainmuffin, also known as Bryon Lape. Today's show, we're going to do something a little different. We're going to look at cheat codes, in particular with Civilization 4. So cheat codes are not just for cheating anymore. The idea is to use the ability to have cheat codes inside the game to kind of add a different dimension that wouldn't otherwise be possible, and to bring some fun back to the game. So let's get started, shall we? We'll do a single player because that's usually how these things work. Also, I'm not going to go over how to enable cheat codes. I am on the Mac version of Civ 4. This is the Steam Mac version because the DVD version doesn't work anymore. But this should work on anything. I'll put in the description a link to how to enable cheat codes because other people have covered that ad nausea. And this is more of how to use them to get more fun out of the game. All right. Okay, let's start. All right, let's get a game setup going. So here we have single player mode. We're going to do custom game. And because we're going to use cheat codes, we can do some stuff here that otherwise would give us problems. The first thing we can do is we can make sure there's an AI in every position. And depending on the size of your game, this may vary. I'm not sure. I think it's 17 or 18 here. And let's see what we get. So there we have 18. I do random for everything else. I leave this as chieftain. I mean, you can make it whatever you want. I really never really mess with it. I know what it does, but I really don't mess with it. So for my demonstration purposes, I'm going to show a fantasy realm. I have used cheat codes on other map types, islands, and different things like that, and you can build ships and things. But for me, I get more enjoyment out of the fantasy realm. The other thing I do is because I have enough memory, obviously this is an older game, so it's probably not a problem with modern computers, but I do huge size, I do ancient, and other things. So I do aggressive AI, I don't know, that doesn't seem to make much of a difference. Raging barbarians. Now this is something that many times in other game modes can be difficult because they'll destroy. I've had it where I've played raging barbarians, and all of a sudden they're taking out AI cities very early in the game. And that I don't want that. I do random personalities, obviously, because I want different types of things going on. Now, the victory here, this is key. You have to decide what you're going to do with the cheat codes. What I like to do is kind of see how big I can make my culture dominate the globe without winning. If I have domination here, very early on the game's going to finish and I'm going to win and I'm really going to not feel fulfilled. I like doing this. It's basically I do this to kind of make a game almost open-ended until I get sick of it. You could also do something like space race and other things, in which case you have to be sure to keep an eye on other civilizations that don't suddenly build a rocket ship while you're not watching and launch it. And so I like conquest, but I try and stay a little ahead of the surrounding AI so that they don't really want to attack me, and go from there. So I've filled out everything, and we're going to launch, and we'll see you on the other side as we get set up. All right, so now we want to get the city set up initially, how we want to go, and this is fantasy realm. Now this will work for some of the other things. You do continents or other things. Some of these concepts won't work very well because the idea with what I'm trying to do, utilizing these cheat codes, is more along the lines of, like I said, the culture being. And so you have to be able to surround the cities and cut them off and all that kind of stuff. So here we are. We're going to be playing as the Greeks. So at the beginning here, I have a scout and I have a settler. So the scout's going to go here, and for some reason I can't zoom out. The idea there is to capture that first thing, and they gave us another scout. Oh, yippee. And they're tied together. I don't want them tied together. I want them explored separately. And now let's establish our first city. So right now we're not going to do a whole lot as far as what we're going to do using cheat codes. We're just going to kind of establish on the first turn. And because we're going to be utilizing cheat codes to build some early defensive units and attacking units, I don't really have to worry about creating a warrior here. Now some cultures will get a warrior automatically and some will not. That's fine. You're just going to explore with that guy. you're going to start encountering raging barbarians pretty quickly, and he's probably going to get killed, so we're not even going to worry about it. So we'll start the barracks because that's how we want to improve, and now I can finally zoom out. And here we have established what we're going to do. Now we have a city established. We have a need for boats, for work boats. We'll see if we need to create them, if we need to grow faster. Right now we have this spot right here, and this is where we're going to establish our first use of the cheat code. Now this is, on a Mac it's Control-Shift left click. I think it's Control-Shift left click on a Windows machine, I'm not sure. And we're going to create our first units. Actually, we're going to do a couple things first. We're going to create, I like to create 5 workers. Now why 5, you might ask? Well, one is so we can start establishing our city. The other ones are going to go out in the 4 cardinal directions, more or less. Now, this one's not wanting us to go that way. Obviously, with this body of water, we can't quite go straight exactly north, south, east, and west, but that's the concept. The other one we're going to do is we're going to give everybody money. Now, why in the world do I want to give all of all these civilizations money? And we want to choose a little bit, but not too much. So, I mean, that seems about right, 2,400. The reason I give it to all, what I've noticed is when I use these cheat codes, especially if I'm too aggressive with them, the AI units don't do anything. The AI civs just kind of sit there and they lag, and I don't really want to have no competition. I'm just trying to have a little fun with some competition. So I actually like to give all of the civilizations money so that they tend to do better. The AI guys tend to do better with this. The other thing is the tech. What I've also noticed, if I just skip to modern or future or whatever, if I do these things too quickly, the cities are too small, and you actually get some unrest. You get some other things because you don't have a forge, you don't have a factory, and then if you build those things, you don't have established the population to handle those and to support those. It really doesn't do any good at all. Plus, I don't want to skip any wonders. I really want to build the wonders as I go. Some of those wonders, are first come, first served. Some wonders are not. And I don't want all the religions, necessarily. So I like to give everybody money. And so we have, like I said, the AI seems to, I don't have any direct proof that it actually does anything, but the AI seems to behave better. Plus, the other reason we need to have money is you're going to see right here as soon as we end this turn, is we're going to see up here that our units are going to start costing us money. Now, what I like to do at the beginning is to establish some religion, and usually you want to go for Buddhism first. And I'll just do this right now, so we'll do mysticism and we'll do meditation. If we don't get Buddhism, we're going to go for Hinduism. Now, sometimes I've actually been beaten on both of these, and I'll go straight for monotheism and get Judaism, because we need a religion for 2 main reasons. One is for culture expansion, and the other one is for science. When we have at least one religion, as we start expanding in other cities, we can build a monastery, and that will actually give us a science boost until we have the scientific method. Now, I don't fully understand why the scientific method cancels out the monasteries, considering Mendel, who did a lot of early genetics work in the 19th century, was a monk, and he was in a monastery. And so you don't necessarily, religion and science are not necessarily contradictory, but hey, it's the game, and so that's the parameters and that's the rules. So the scouts now we're going to start sending out in somewhat random directions. I don't really fret about the scouts because we're going to build explorers here really soon, and the scouts will get killed relatively. If they start to hit barbarians, they're going to get killed off pretty quickly. So here we have established, I'm going to save this game, and then, so this is the early openings, the initial setup of the city, and it's all going to be depending on what you're playing and what you're going on. So let's, I'm going to stop the recording and go through a couple more returns, and then we're going to start doing some other things with cheat codes. So as part of my initial phase through the turns before I start creating explorers, one of my scouts came across a village that gave us, well, look, another settler. So now I need to decide where exactly do I want to put this, because in the opening of this, we want to find stone and marble, stone in particular. The reason being is some of the early improvements like the pyramids, Stonehenge, They get built much faster if you have stone. Marble will be important throughout the game for establishing all kinds of things like Oracle and the Hermitage. I mean, it goes for centuries. The marble is very important, and there's stone improvements as well. So that's basically the next phase that I utilize. And that's what we'll utilize explorers for. But again, there's some randomness in the game, and you may have some villages nearby, you may not. I didn't get very far at all, and now I have a second city to establish, and I haven't explored anywhere. And I really don't want to send this settler around and then encounter barbarians and get killed. I think I'm still a little too close, and I have a lot of food here. So I do want to go a little bit. I just kind of want to tread lightly. And I'm going to use this scout, come back over this direction. So now we've finished out what normally I would think about doing explorers, but not sure. Again, we have found some ivory, which we're going to have to build a camp with. Still, we have no stone, but we haven't gone very far. So I'm going to do one more turn before I establish my exploration. So I don't typically put cities very close. I'm going to wait. I'm just going to wait. I want to make sure that we don't have some other things, and I'm still going to wait one more turn. And this is, remember, this is part of a recipe. This is not set in stone. You have to do this. You have to do this. But you do want to have some establishment. And again, I don't want to. I really don't know where I want to put this explorer or the settler. I really am at a loss. They got mountains now in the way. All right, so now we have mysticism. So now we got a map. So now I think this is going to be as good a place as any. I was afraid that there's going to be a port right here, but perhaps not. Again, so now we're going to build Stonehenge. And actually, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to put barracks first, and then I'm going to build Stonehenge. That'll give me some time to find stone, because that, again, is the next example of what we need to do. Now, normally I wouldn't establish a second city so soon. And because I have, let's see, it's utilizing this square right here. So we're going to do a worker right there, and we're going to have them irrigate right off the bat, or build a road. And that's not what I meant to hit, but it's okay. Oh, and here we go with that warp out nonsense. And let's see if we can establish some boundary conditions. Yeah, very well. The rivers will have them connect. We're going to have this guy kind of come to that city. Now here we go. We got villages are hostile, so there's a really good chance that worker is going to get killed, and we have possibly a civilization over here to say hello to. All right, so normally I wouldn't start doing explorers at this point, maybe a few more turns in, because again, we're trying to find that stone. We definitely have marble here. However, not too dissimilar to getting a second settler really early. We now have the barbarians already starting to show up. Now this worker might get killed here. We're not sure. I'm not sure, but we're going to do a couple things to try and prevent that. Well, first of all, we're going to create 4 archers. And we're going to put 2 in our capital city, and we're going to put 2 over here. Now, obviously, they're going to take a few turns. There's no immediate threat that we see. The other thing I noticed is when we got a map over here, there's another village that showed up. Now, this is very close to this civilization, but again, early on, we're going to find these. We're going to utilize them. At some point, we'll just let the other explorers of the scouts of other civilizations find them. The other thing we're going to do is create 4 explorers. And the explorers are going to serve 2 purposes. One is to go out on the cardinal points again, north, south, east, and west, hopefully a little bit faster than everybody else. This one I'm going to put way down here. We are doing the fantasy realm, so it will wrap around. The other one is because they are good at being defensive units. They can attack, but if they are attacked by the barbarians, they have a very high probability of surviving. Now we're going to lose that worker, but the idea is to utilize the explorers kind of as bait. So we're going to let that guy just sit there and see if that warrior attacks him and gives us some experience. We're going to continue this guy onward. The scouts not so much. Again, at some point the barbarians are going to be far more powerful than the scout can defend against, and boom, they're going to be dead. So I'm not really worried about the scouts too much. So there we go. They went for my explorer. Hopefully we win, and we do. We should. And we got a little bit of experience for him. And now we're just going to kind of go in the cardinal direction. So I don't send him way, way out. And then now I have a third scout. Oh, that's great. The idea being that I'm trying to gain some experience with these explorers. And at some point, as we push out, you know, I might say, okay, how come just north, south, east, and west? What about the diagonals? How come I don't do 8? How am I going to do 12? I can, but to me, it's just too many units too early. And right now, just going straight out is pretty much showing most of the map. We haven't explored enough of the map to have it kind of have big gaps. And when we start seeing big gaps, we're going to start exploring in diagonals. The other thing is we have this body of water, which just forces us into a diagonal this way. It would force us into a diagonal this way. And so we're already getting some of that diagonal and going. But we're going to need it pretty soon. I did do several turns him and hawing what to do with the settler that created this city. And so we're a little bit further in than I'm probably realizing. We want to start building roads and things. Well, but again, we're going to send this guy north. The idea is to try and wrap around. Now, they gave us a worker. Typically, when I get a worker at this stage of the game from the villager, I want to send it back toward my main city or the main area that I've got going. Since I've already got one guy that's kind of in the area, we're going to send him toward the marble so we can start connecting to that better. So the next thing we'll be doing is understanding what are we going to put out here, a settler out here to take care of that marble. But first of all, we got to find the stone because we're going to be building Stonehenge pretty quickly. That'll pop up and see it's already there, and we want to utilize this because it'll be built twice as quickly with stone. And now you notice that my main city has expanded without any real thing going, and now we'll get a little bit more money, maybe some, now we got another settler. So let's put them out there. I think that's a good spot. Let's go ahead and just kind of go around this lake, whatever this is, probably a freshwater lake. That's what it looks like. Ocean. Okay, it's showing up as ocean, so I guess it's an inland sea. I'm not sure. Now the next thing to do at this point is really we've got, we're trying to get Buddhism, we're trying to get a religion, so let's try and help that along. The best way to do that, well, not the best way, but what I like to do is with a scientist. And we'll create 2 of them since we have 2 cities. We'll worry about that 3rd city when they show up. Now be careful with these great people. You want to send them so that they don't get killed. You don't want to just create these things, these debug units and that. So we're going to do the academy. We're not just going to dump them. So this will help. It'll give us more culture. It'll help expand our culture as well as adding 50% to our science. Again, now scouts being, maybe they'll get targeted, maybe they'll go away. We're trying to target with this. We want the experience on the explorers with dealing with the barbarians. And once we start seeing barbarians with a little bit more oomph to them, we're going to start using cavalry units to do the same type of thing as the explorers. Because basically the explorers also reach a point where they can get killed somewhat easily, especially if they're below a level 3. It becomes harder and harder for them to defend against the barbarians. Now we'll just do barracks here, and we'll go on and explore. And I'm going to go ahead and create 2. I'm going to do them right locally so we don't have to send them through all that stuff because they are slow. Now I will say about these units that I build non-organically, in other words, not through the city. I've noticed, and I don't know if this is just me being paranoid, but I've noticed that for starters they have the colorings a little bit different. I think they're red instead of blue. The other thing I've noticed is they seem to have worse luck, and they will eventually. There's times when they should win battles and they don't, and I don't know if that. Again, I don't really have any direct proof of that. So at some point I will replace them. Most likely, I will update these. Once we have iron, I'll update them to the longbow and to the crossbow. But it's usually about the time I start getting some decent gunpowder units, I'll stop updating them. I'll replace them with things. And then if I have to either take out, let's say there's some cities that the barbarians have established or conquered, I may take those out. Or sometimes I do start attacking the AI, especially some low-level civilizations. or if there are cities that are strategically placed to help with the conquering of the culture. Remember, we didn't say we're going to dominate to win, but we can utilize culture to flip cities. And so we might want to capture a city or two and then flip them and then settle out, do peace, and then pump a lot of culture into them and rapidly through missionaries and other things, and then start taking the cities by culture flipping. All right. So right now, where we've established some exploring, this is kind of what we're going to do. I use 2 archers to protect each city. Again, we have more raging barbarians attacking. And let's see, did we win the sweepstakes for religion? We did not. So we're going to have to go for polytheism. That means that I missed the message up here that said, yep, and it's not uncommon for me to lose that battle. Now this guy we're just going to kind of heal out in the field. And I'm going to send this guy this way too. And very soon I'm going to be utilizing my workers a little bit differently, a little bit more automatically. And I cannot believe we still have not found any stone. This is really interesting. So we'll establish our... Now I don't want to lose a second time, so I'll... again, this is where when I don't do the money for everybody, I notice that I don't tend to lose these battles, these races. But when I do tend, and it's fine. We don't need to own all the religions, but we need to establish one early so that we can really start pumping out science a bit more. And normally I wouldn't have 3 cities, but when your explorers are turning up villagers or turning up settlers, it's kind of what you know. So again, we have Mason marble. And that's the thing too, is another reason why you don't want too many explorers and why I don't want it on auto. Again, we have marble because I want to keep track of what's around them. Are there civilizations, other cities that we need to kind of keep track of? We want to see whatever they are and what's around them. And still, we're looking for that stone. We got to get that stone going. I know we don't have masonry and we can't build a quarry, but we got to find out where it is before we get that tech, or it's going to go to waste for a long, long time. All right, so I'm going to take a pause until we get to the next section where I might utilize. I've got, obviously we've got 3 cities already. The next step is to get to a place where I'm going to build some settlers through the debug method and utilize some placement of things. But again, we got to find. We might put a city here, but we've got to find that stone because that's where we want to put our next city. All right. Okay. See you when we find it. Okay, the scout has found some stone right here. And this is basically where you got to consider how you want to expand and how you want to capture that stone. Now, given that our explorers gave us 2 settlers very early, relatively early, I have already done some initial expansion. But I want to probably get to about 4 or 5 cities total. And the thing is, look how far away my stone is. It's quite a ways, and I'm not really sure where I want to explore. So now it's time to really start cranking out some units to help. We don't have many roads established here, so we're going to do a whole bunch of workers. Now, what I've noticed about the workers is it seems that 2, maybe 3 at most on a spot help you go a little bit faster. But other than that, they start to get in each other's way, and they don't really leapfrog very well. So I'm going to send 2 to the quarry. I'm going to send 2 here. Now, you did see it flip, most likely because already we've got some roads established, and we sure do. And I'm going to put one to here. I don't know exactly where I'll establish a city. So until we explore some more, we'll do that. And that gets us going. The idea we want to do is explore and grow toward the stone. And we'll explore some more. So here we already have a warrior from another civilization that we have to keep track of. It looks like the French. Yep, Napoleon. Where do we know where Napoleon is? Yeah, he's over here. So we also have an opportunity here to help surround Napoleon. And we want him to expand a little bit first. We want to get a city established over here relatively quickly. Now, one thing that you may have noticed that I've been doing is I've really been clicking in my own territory when I make units. And one reason is there's a good chance that when you don't do it in your territory, it won't be a unit for you. And even when you do it in your territory, it may still be a unit for a different civilization. So that'll happen from time to time. What's really, say, I'm going to try it in here. Yeah, see, he's a French guy. What's really interesting is when it does it for a civilization you haven't come across, and all of a sudden it'll pop up, hey, hello to say hello to so-and-so. So that's also a thing to keep in mind, that you can also kind of help or hinder. I could give him a bunch of expensive units that he can't keep or something crazy, but you be careful there. I want to explore this entire area very rapidly, so we've got some scouts already kind of in that. If I didn't, I would create a whole bunch of explorers and beat feet down that way. The other thing is I need to establish a fourth city up here, perhaps toward the coast. I haven't really decided. There's nothing that really leaps out at. There's the beaver here, but there's not, I think it's beaver, so fur. But what I'm not seeing yet is anything on the lines of copper or iron, because we haven't gotten that far, but we're getting close. We're going to do mining. The other thing that happened during our away time is that I was able to establish Hinduism as a religion, as my religion, and I do have to look at probably doing organized religion at some point. So we're going to work toward getting some of these going as well. Remember, what we're trying to do is culture, and so we need to establish a nice basis, and then we'll really explode off of that. And part of the initial expansion here is finding a stone, so you want to grow toward the stone, and you may have to create settlers. But soon the cities are going to say, hey, we want to establish a settler. And so in that early intermediate time, you may have them do so at their next possible thing. Now we have expanded here. We have done nothing directly other than the scientists. We've not used the great artists or anything to do things. That's the other thing that we haven't done as well. Is here's Hinduism, and we want to use a great prophet to establish their holy place. Each religion that you find, you want to do that as soon as possible, or if you start conquering cities that have other religions, you want to see if they have their holy building, and if not, create it. So what that does is it really starts to help push out your culture. And in the initial stages, it's really easy. I mean, we're with plus 13 and we only need 100. When you get 2 or 3 levels in, this number really needs to be big to really push against the other civilizations and start capturing cities by culture flipping. So there we have it. We're trying to expand towards stone, and so we're gonna take a quick pause and we're trying to figure out where. Well, I'll tell you what. Let's just do one more turn, and maybe we can figure out exactly where we want to put this city. We want to put the city where it's going to grow well, but we have to do a limited amount to get its culture to expand out. So obviously, if we put it way over here, we got to really increase its culture, and at that point, it's not going to grow much, and beyond that, it's going to be. And we also have some marble here to be interested in. I'm thinking probably right here. It's not the best place, but here, maybe here. Maybe this is a better place to establish it. Let's get this guy over here. Okay, that's 4 turns. It's not a big deal breaker waiting for things, but we do want to, because we don't even have the roads down that way. And very, very soon we're going to set things to explore and build automatically. Again, we're trying to really get these guys to wrap around so we can understand, because the idea is to start expanding north and south. We want to cut the map into 4 quadrants with our cities, not walls or something, but we want to start growing along that line so we can start surrounding the other civilizations, and then get a lot of culture flipping of cities as they start expanding out. All right, let's pause for that. We'll see you in the next section when we start using cheat codes and the ideas how we want to use. Remember, this is not to wipe out the AI in 4 turns. It's really to start enhancing and doing crazy stuff that we normally wouldn't do without them. Every game is a little bit different, and this one was. Now, I had, I'm not sure where he went, but there was a barbarian up here. I went ahead and established the city right here, and then we have the archers that I built, and there he is. And unfortunately, the archers are moving together, but that's okay. I normally wouldn't do that. The other thing is, since the last section, I've lost a couple workers. I've set several workers to auto. And I've also lost a scout. Now that'll become important because we want to get those back once we have optics and we can actually build explorers correctly. The other thing we need to do, we have established 4 cities. I'm going to establish a 5th one right here. We have workboats coming out. I'll have workboats for these 2. This city, and I'll also have one for here, so I don't have to worry about it over here as much. Obviously, we have not created the great scientists for that one, which we will, because we really want to crank out. The idea is to kind of build up the scientific background and knowledge and really start cranking through things kind of in the middle of the game. And then eventually what we'll do is we won't spend any money on science whatsoever, but we'll still have enough established things that we'll still get advancement, but we won't care that it comes a lot slower. We'll still be way ahead of the AI, and we won't have to worry. So Hinduism is my religion, which is what I said previously. And given that I keep seeing quite a few raging barbarians running around, we're not going to send them out unescorted. Now, normally this level in archer is what we're going to utilize, but the archers are just way too slow. What I tend to use is an infantryman. And eventually you won't need to send them accompanied, and then we'll just send the infantrymen kind of in an auto state to just do whatever, because these are pretty much useless against anything of any significance. But again, the reason why we want to not only spread our religion is 2 things. One is it establishes a better base for culture, and 2, as I said, we can build a monastery, which gives us 10% more science. So we'll actually queue that up there. We also need to build the pyramids soon, or at least get them queued up, and we also need to do the Parthenon. And these other ones we can do. We got Stonehenge, but we found the stone, but we don't have a quarry yet. So we'll go back down here, and again, this is kind of in that beginning stages that eventually we won't do this at all. We'll produce a great scientist. So what is that? So they have poor. We just established this this past turn, and we'll do this. We want to make sure that these guys kill off this lion. Unfortunately, I failed to see that they were grouped together. 1 archer should be more than enough to take that out, but you never know. Let's see if we can get an explorer. We have 1 explorer that's got some experience. That one's going to get some experience. Okay. We want to, again, we want to be as friendly as possible with all of the AI. We're kind of catching up to them because we made such a fuss trying to get a religion. We're behind on certain things. So now let's see what we've got. Well, it's going to expand next in 2 turns, so I'm not worried about it. We'll just kind of have them hang out and make a road. Just make a road 1 space. And again, so now we'll do a workboat. Are they using either square? No, they're not using anybody. So we'll just kind of go across the ocean here. And, well, the lion disappeared on us, so I'm not going to chase him with that unit. And we're going to bring up roads to the other civilizations. The other thing that we can do with our open borders neighbors is we can send our religion to them. Again, we'll just do this, and we'll establish archers. And then what that does is they start to kind of long for home, and that can also flip border cities to our culture once we get up against them. So right now we're just kind of in an expansion for the stone. The other thing that we need to do is I kind of got preoccupied looking for stone, and I should have done this quite a while ago. Again, we want to now do the diagonals with explorers. We did lose a scout, but we had a bunch of extras, so I'm not really worried about it. But you see in the map here in the lower right, we've got lots of gaps. We are trying to find the edges. We want to wrap around. This is a fantasy realm again, so we're going to wrap around east and west and north and south. But we kind of want to just send some explorers, just really unaccompanied. If they encounter barbarians, we're going to know about it. If they encounter other cultures, they'll stop. But for the most part, we just want to blast it out into the nothingness to kind of blaze a trail that we'll build off of as we go through the middle section of the game. We're getting to the point where see, here we've encountered a barbarian. We're going diagonally, and we'll just go past them. Now we have a decision to make. We could just lose this unit. In fact, that's what I'm going to do. And then, you know what, I'm going to turn the scout to automatic. I don't want to lose all my workers, but Let's go here, but we're getting to the really close to the point where we're going to have more and more units who are going to be on an automatic fashion in some sort. Let's expand this out, and we're going to get, obviously he's not going to get there in time to save that unit. Let's see what happens. I'm really not worried about the quarry because, again, there it goes. We have the expansion of our city, so now we can have them start working on it. We're starting to gain some momentum. Oops, that's the wrong unit. I know there's an archer there. Have him start building that. The thing too, with only having one quarry, we might want to put a unit on it. We'll have to keep an eye on it. Sometimes the raging barbarians seem to like certain features, and they'll go after it again and again. And when they do, we'll want to create a unit either organically through our barracks or just falsely through our debug allowance, and do that. So now again, we've got more people showing up. I'm going to put that guy to automatic. So this guy needs some rest. It's going to take 2 because, again, the archers are just so freaking slow. I don't really like them. This guy I'm going to put to automatic because I really don't care for a warrior. They're pretty useless. And you can explore with them, but they're very, very weak. We're going to explore auto with this guy, and now we're going to continue to expand our thing. The thing I was started talking about that we're going to need very soon is horses. So we have 5 cities, and we can do a 6th one over here somewhere. So what I'm probably going to do is establish about 4 or 5 workers that come over this way, get a settler over this way. In fact, let's send the missionaries on their way, and let's do that. And so I'll show you what I mean when I do these things. So we're going to have workers. I said, oh, let's do 4 of them. We're going to build off of a road we already have because it's pretty much we're going to get over here. We need pasture land. We have the ability to clear it. And now we're going to build a settler again in our territory because we don't want to accidentally make it one for someone else. I'm thinking right here. And we'll see if they get killed or not. The idea being, and they might because there's a lion showing up. And now let's look at the big picture. So horseback riding, we're about to get horses, so let's not do that. Let's do iron in case we need for jungles and things. And we need a monarchy to improve our, and we need compass because we definitely want, now granted those 6 on metal casting. We can start skipping things here because if we end up with Judaism, that's fine. I don't really care about getting a second religion until I'm in the category of, maybe 10 cities. So, whoops, that's not the archer. Let's see if we can. And I do 2 archers. Every once in a while, these low-end units will kill an archer. It's very interesting. And then obviously the archers will become the protectors of the city. And that's why we're doing it. So here we have some contention already. This is great. Oh, good grief. But again, we want to, when we have explorers that are going up again, or whatever's doing the exploring, whether it's a scout, whether it's explorer, whether it's a whatever, this guy we're going to put the sentry because the other guy's fortified. I usually do 1 fortified and 1 sentry. We want to know where they are bound. We still have a lot of unknown, and then of course we have the fog of war that happens as we do that. And I got a dog pointed. All right, so I'm going to kind of break here. We're just really testing the boundaries, the edges, and we're going to establish another city right here. And to capitalize on the horses, obviously it's probably going to take a little bit more turns than this, and they'll be great. And then we'll really start to crank out some things, and we'll build up some other stuff. All right. See you in the next section. Okay, we skipped ahead quite a bit as far as gameplay with a few uses here and there, but very few. As you can see in the map, now that we've explored all the way across and up and down, the perspective shifts. This is also why it's important to get those explorers out, going in the cardinal directions as much as possible, as quickly as possible, so that you can figure out where you're going to be on the map. Because at the beginning of the game, your capital city is pretty much in the center. And then once you've done this, at least in the fractal realm, this is what happens, in the fantasy realm rather. So now my capital city is way over here in the corner. I'm going to have to remember that. We do have our monasteries being built. We have the pyramids being built. We have our missionaries going around spreading our state religion. We We haven't gotten too many things. We did do a slavery revolt, but now we're going to need to start working on getting a few civic improvements so that our culture can start to expand a little bit more rapidly. The other thing that happened is we established this Delphi here, Delphi. This was through a settler that we built through the debug. And then we also did Kenosis. Now, Kenosis is way out here. This was a settler that one of the explorers found. We also lost a couple scouts. We've lost some more workers during this time, and that's fine. So there's two things we're going to do. One, because we've established a city way out here, and it's quite a ways from everything. We're going to give a whole mess of workers. We're going to do a dozen. This is a bit much, but we're probably going to lose a lot of them on the way. So we'll have one of them do some local, but we're pretty much trying to get to and go around and through. We do have some open border policies with some of the other cultures, but we're basically trying to get it connected as quickly as possible. And we may also do some the other way. There is a city this direction, so we might be able to connect it that way. Remember, with the fantasy realm, things warp or loop over on both sides. So let's see if we can't connect it by this path. There isn't a whole lot Kenosis right now will offer us. So we're just going to let it organically grow for the time being. We could, in fact, let's just do that. We could put a workboat right here. And at least that way it does organically grow a little bit more quickly. But we haven't done anything. We don't have a scientist here. We need to do that. That's the other thing. Now, the great scientists, eventually we don't do these hardly at all. We'll start using artists, especially if we flip cities or if we do some conquering. We've pretty much discovered, I don't know if it's all of the cultures, but we found a lot of them. We're pretty much double up on Isabella, but now we're starting to look at this low end. We want to see, are there some possibilities of conquering, or do we want to see if we can get, we still have lots of spaces we don't know much about at all. Near us, the Japanese, at least at the moment, have an open border policy. So we really want to get a worker headed into their space because we want to see, now there we go. I don't know what it created, but it didn't create a worker for me. We want to build roads in there if we can. So it created a French one. But basically, what we're trying to do is get to 10 to 12 cities. Right now, we're sitting at 7. And we want to figure out what we're going to do for those 10. We're going to do organic growth. We're going to do some other things. We're going to look for places to put them. So this is kind of step 1 on our growth. Okay, we're kind of in the next phase of our push to 10. One of our warriors has found a decent spot. Now you can see on the map where it is. It's a good ways away from all our other cities. We're going to see if we can build out here and build a proper settler. At this point, we've lost a few more workers. We do have those workers pushing to connect everything. Most of the workers are already on automatic, and now what we're going to show is how to build some things semi-organically. We'll say this is the equals key on the keyboard. We're going to build the barracks, and we're going to build the 2 archers right away. And the walls we're going to let kind of go. And then we'll put this guy, we're going to send him out here in the middle of the void because we're looking for our next spots. And you can see now we've got more and more workers being pestered by the barbarians. We're getting to the point where also we need to start think about creating cavalry units to kind of replace things. So let's go ahead and do that. I like starting from my capital city. Most of the things that I do like this, I usually start from the capital city, unless I have a hot spot. So I'm going to send this guy this way. We're going to kind of look out over here. This guy's been pestered a little bit. Surprised he's still alive. And then we're going to try and, we can't really patrol. It would be nice. Some games like this do allow you to patrol. But what we're trying to do is just kind of find some barbarians. There's probably a barbarian city somewhere. Now, in the meantime, since the last time we recorded, we did have Judaism get founded. Now we'll do the Oracle. Now this is the second one like this I've had come up. You can see I've got 2 in this city alone. I don't really have anything we don't have any of these religions, so we don't have anywhere to send them just yet. although I think I just had him join the city. Normally I have him stay there. Because the next thing you want to be thinking about is a golden age, when you want to fire off one or a sea one. So we're going to do fortify, we're going to do, this is what I typically do, one fortified improvements and one attack improvements, unless I have a city that's really getting battered. This is where I need to kind of get around here, explore. We're almost to the point where, now here I sent a missionary on his own because this is open borders. And this will actually help. Now, this is his capital city, and he's not really done a whole lot. So that tells me that these guys, he's kind of in the middle. These guys at the bottom might be in trouble. We're at 2160, and it doesn't look like anybody's really expanding. Now, this is the thing you have to be careful when you do these cheat codes. If you start overwhelming the AI, it's like they stop, and then this game really becomes boring because you're just really playing literally by yourself. But we have established one city in our push to 10. We want to do a couple more. We'll have that guy out in the wilderness. But we're trying to close the gap on knowledge here. So it's why we want to go out here in the middle. This guy seems to still be digging. I'm not sure why he came up. But we're trying to connect that city in. And so now what we can do is send the cavalry kind of in the opposite direction. See if we can't. You know, this guy, let's send him over here and connect up here, and then we'll probably do that. So we have our first city. Obviously not a whole lot. I'm not worried about there aren't any workers headed this guy's way, because really soon we're going to have a band of workers that are going too fast. The next question becomes, where do we put that next city? Here we have Rome, and this is the Romans, so Julius Caesar, I believe, he's kind of in the middle. Really what I want to do is find where are the so Spanish is Isabella. Let's put one right over in here. We don't know if there's any resources. I'll tell you what, let's go a little bit, split the difference. Let's go right here. And so now what we're doing is really just establishing cities, and then we'll grow them I like to call semi-organically. Things are there. We're not going to create them for them, but we're going to do them quickly. And we'll do the same thing here. We still have archers because they're not connected into our capital. They're not going to have access to copper and to get those others. But now here we have the cavalry starting to find. And this is really what you're going to try to do is explore into the map, find out if the barbarians have any cities whatsoever. That's odd. I forgot the walls. And yeah, we're going to be expanding quite rapidly. And also, if any city says, hey, we want to build a cellar, let them do it. You may have to do it on next availability. Let's just get this guy. And again, we're trying to get experience, but we're growing and trying growth for basically slowly start taking out the barbarians. Not an all-out campaign. Now we got more marble. We seem to have that a lot. Really understand where everybody is, and let's get conquering. All right. And so that's basically where we are right now, just trying to find those spaces before we do. Okay, we're basically in our final phase to push to 10. And the thing is, we want to start building a lot of wonders. So we have a couple things going on. Number one, we're starting to run low on funds. We need to keep an eye on that because then we'll have buildings that will be sold and it'll be a nightmare. We might want to give more funds. In fact, let's just go ahead and do that. We will increase everything to everybody like we've done before, except we're going to really bump it. Here we have an interesting development going on in that Corinth here is starting to butt up against the French. And that is actually pushed back. The French actually pushed on me. This space right here was, and then they've pushed into that. That means Corinth is going to need some help. Now we do have an engineer, but we do have the academy helping out. But what we're going to do is we're going to force the monastery to be built, and we're going to force the walls to be built. And the temple. This I put in here because we want to get the Parthenon built, basically to help with, this is a big increase in culture. And we also want to find a place for that. So we need to get the courthouse. Well, we don't have the tech for the courthouse yet. We're probably going to have to wait metal casting. I forget exactly where the courthouse is, but we'll have to figure, there it is, code of laws. The other thing that we are forcing is we got the oracle built and we got monotheism from it. And in fact, let's go ahead and schedule code of laws tree. But we're also going to need currency and mathematics, and we basically want to really get going on a lot of things to get our economy going. We don't have very many civic things, but we need to definitely get concentrating on that. I know it's 1840 BC, but we're a bit behind. The other thing we did is we established a city close to at the time, Peter was the best. I don't know, I'll have to find Cyrus. But this is how you can start kind of spying on your neighbors by just building a city there. And as you can see, we can see pretty far. Right now the city's only been built for a little bit, but we're not going to really worry about it. I did force in the barracks and the archers, and we did like we did before. We do have workers on the way. Now we did lose a few more workers to the barbarians, and we're going to go ahead and create a few more cavalry units and really just kind of send them where the hot spots are. Again, we're trying to see if they have any cities. If they do, we want to conquer them, and then really just pick fights with them with more powerful units, because the experience doesn't matter. If it overpowers or not, it'll get the experience, and we're trying to level these up to level 4. But that's basically where our kind of in the real early stages of the middle game, establishing, like here we've got guys going against our explorers, but we should be fine there. We shouldn't have any problems with really anything just yet, but we're starting to get into some of the tech where the barbarians get to utilize them. And we're going to say so that we had something pop up and I was too slow. So we really want to keep track of where they're showing up. Perhaps send an explorer. Here we have another one. And then if we have to heal units, we're starting to get this connected. But basically I've been sending these cavalry units back and forth, looking to see, are there any barbarians about? Now here we have some right here. This is the guy that just took out a worker a few times ago. He might be working on destroying the road. When it gets close, we might want to open up one of these and send him down to attack. But he could just as easily go after London. So right now we're not just going to keep an eye on him, see what he does. Here we have warrior against warrior. There's a good chance we're going to lose. Nope, but we won. But really, if we kind of keep track of what kind of units we're losing, if we lose any, well, that's the kind of thing. So here we have a chance to get 2 of them. So we'll get this one this round, and maybe the next one in the next couple turns. But this is just really just, okay, explore, find. Obviously that's an explorer. He can't attack, but he can defend. Really just trying to find all the places of the map. We're just kind of getting our feet wet, and then more and more of the workers are going to auto. And eventually all the cavalry units will be on auto, so will all the explorers. And then we'll start again. We're going to lose a worker here. That's fine. At least it lets us know where they are and try and deal with them. Open borders as much as possible, and then we'll start, as we get some border cultures and civilizations, we'll start sending our missionaries over the lines and settling it. And also, we've waited long enough for people to have the religions. So more than likely, if we're going to get more religions on our way, that's fine. As soon as we do, we'll stack up missionaries and make sure that every city has a temple. Every city has a monastery until we can't build them anymore. Set these guys auto. They've now connected that city. Let's explore toward this city. This is the next one that's going to get connected. We're still doing the scientist and we're still doing the engineer in each city. We're not really using the artist just yet. But we'll keep an eye on this. If this starts crunching down and we're starting to lose, then maybe we do. Or maybe what we do is we put a city over here that can grow to them. We have this city, but we can put one away. Again, that's what I did with Peter here. This city will start to grow. Maybe I ought to put one here to kind of cut him off from that direction. In fact, I'm going to do exactly that. And that's basically what you're down to doing in this middle section is kind of putting out your chess pieces, if you will, and you're looking to see, obviously we're going to have to force. And also now we have a forge showing up that just showed up. That's just a big improvement. We'll do this way. So the forge is good because it helps everything be built a little more quickly. And I'm not too concerned right now. I can click these guys even though they're out of turn so that they are fully, because that next turn will take out that barbarian. But we'll start connecting these things. In fact, he's going to come and take himself out. But that's what we're trying to do, is where can we piece? We don't want to be right on top of them. We want to be at a distance so that we can grow our cities into them and because the idea is to start taking cities at some point just by culture. We're not quite there yet, but we're getting close. Again, we're trying to build that foundation so that our culture becomes overwhelming and we start flipping cities. And what will happen is you're going to have a bunch of cities are going to flip, and then you're going to have hardly any. Then you're going to have a bunch will flip again because they take time to kind of switch over and get their culture running the other way. And this is where having missionaries will be important, because as soon as you flip a city, you want to get every missionary you've got, however many religions you have, there. You don't really want foreign ones. Even later in the game, you'll still get some, but they're not going to help you flip cities. So where is this guy? So I saw a dark. Yeah, there we go. Now those missionaries are not unescorted, but we don't want their infantrymen fighting unless we absolutely have to, because then he'll move and then they'll be unescorted, and they could have a barbarian show up in the square right next to him. So that's where we are. We're going to take I'm going to play a lot of the game because we probably won't do anything differently. May not even use any cheat codes. So here we got Confucianism without, no, we don't want that, without doing anything. Everybody needs to build a forge right now. I'll have to take it on a city-by-city basis to see if I force the forge to be created. And then if we do universal suffrage eventually, we can just pay for those things right out. But basically, find the barbarians, engage them with obviously much more powerful units. Because again, we're trying to get that level 4 unit. I still don't have a level 4 unit. Now this guy's going to be unescorted. He's a long way from everybody. And then the next thing I'll probably do is, if these cities don't get connected soon, or don't have workers coming to them, or I lose too many, I'll just plop a whole mess of them on one, and that's what they'll do. They'll just start cranking towards one another. And here we have this guy. In fact, what I'm going to do is leave the priests, the missionaries in the city. Get this rifleman a little bit of experience. He doesn't really need much. These are throwaway units anyway. And just have that fortified, and then when he comes back in a couple turns, we'll go off to the next city. And we'll keep track of where we are. Now that we've had different religions, we'll start over here. I like to start on the left side of the map and work my way kind of up and down and across, so I make sure every city that I have gets whatever religions I've got. All right? Okay, well, I'm going to play the bunch through, and it'll be long. The next section will be quite a bit ahead. We may have more cities, but we'll see how. We've got to really just keep track of how the AI grows and start kind of positioning around them. All right. All right, now we have finally come across a barbarian city. And what's nice about this is it's located relatively close to someone else. Now it looks like that's Elizabeth's capital city, but that's okay. So the idea here is to capture this. We don't want to destroy it. Actually, London. So this was a city taken from the other players, and this is one of the things that the raging barbarian seems to sometimes result in. And this was a little bit of a fear. What's nice about this is it's also Judaism's capital, so we're going to also capture a religion if we do this right. So the idea here is not to just blow out the opposition, which we should do. So we've got 3 stacked cavalry units, and let's see what happens. Having a little bit of a delay, not sure why, but anyway. And hopefully we capture it and not destroy it. There are 2 archers there, so we should have a good chance of not only winning but capturing the city, which is what we want to do. So we want to install a new governor, and we do not want to return it to the English Empire. Forget that. And then let's finish our turnout with other units that we have roaming around. The bad part of it, I've got barbarians attacking me all over the place right now, and I've lost quite a few things. I've lost some mines, I've lost things, so here we are. In fact, look at all these barbarians. So this cavalry unit had done some combat and was resting, that's why they showed up here. And so like some areas I don't have copper, steel is around. And this can be a nuisance even for you. And sometimes I just get sick of it and I'll just pile up units. I'm putting all these back to auto. This is what I had them on. And unfortunately, let's just have these guys wait. I want to get back to the city. So right here, and even though this guy can't move, we can tell him to move next turn. So here's what I do. I've captured this city. It really hasn't given it to me yet. Now I do have a forge, So I basically look and see what's there, and then we want to build a forge and a barracks. We want to build 2 units. Now we can't build this because we don't have iron, but that's fine. We'll just do 2 of these. That's fine with me. And then a courthouse usually, or something. So we'll do a temple and then a courthouse. Then we'll do a wall. Now I'll hit the plus key, and we're going to build the forge, the barracks, and both of the weapons units pretty quickly. The other idea here is to quickly send, so we're going to say you guys need to rest up. That's a well-earned break. We need to quickly send our missionaries over here to get our religions going so we don't accidentally flip back to the English, which sometimes happens if you're not careful. But this is a way to use the cheat codes, and I'll do this if I settle a city. So if I get a town that wants to expand, or if I take a city, or if for some reason this stage of the game it usually doesn't happen very often, but sometimes I get a flip of culture and I'll do the exact same thing. The idea is get the forge built so that everything doesn't take so long. Get your barracks built so that any units that have anything happen to them, they're going to rest in one turn, and then if you have to build some units, build them, and then start filling in anything culture oriented. And I also have the Forbidden City. You have to think it has 8 courthouses, which I don't have yet. So now we'll get the guys there. So that's it. All right. So that's what I'm going to be doing for the next many turns. If I capture a city or take a city, it's get that ground level building technology going. And again, I'm not using the crazy cheat codes. I'm not expanding its borders. I'm going to let that build a little bit more organically. But the idea is just in this case to do things and obviously keep track of our money. We're really wasting a lot of money each turn, so I got to have to build more markets and all that kind of stuff. All right, let's do the next. All right, let's wrap this up and get this one off, this episode off to bed. So a couple little things here at the end. One of the things that you can do, and you can either build them organically, as I'm getting quite a few of these great units because of my caste system at the moment. So I'm working toward free market, I'm working toward free religion, we're working toward emancipation, but in the mid-section of the game, if you have a caste system going, this is a great way to get artists, scientists, and merchants and really pump out, with the science, pump out your academies. And here I have an artist. So this is a city that I captured from the barbarians. No, this is not. This is one I settled. So I've already pumped up its the forge and the barracks and 2 units. Now I have gunpowder. I have the musketeers, riflemen, musketmen. But now there are some cities near here that have decent enough culture that it could start pushing against. It is a ways from everything. There's only one road in. Obviously, there's more coming. But great artists are good to use to really pump up the culture. You can flip a city in one turn with them. The other thing that you might want to look out for is you may acquire a city that's surrounded by culture, and it might flip on you the other direction. And when there starts to be unrest, you can create a great artist as closely as you can, put it in there and have them do their great work. You can do this multiple times, and it really can help push the culture and push against whatever is around that area. As like I said, is flip a city right away. So this is really just kind of a wrap up. From this point on, only when I capture new cities am I really using cheat codes. I'm well ahead of the AI. My points are way ahead of it. I'm now backfilling some as far as my science, which means I'm probably going to flip a few more religions. I might not. I mean, I haven't even gone after these 2 yet. I really lag back. I'm really working on the civic stuff. And then the next thing that I'll probably do is steam power, so I can start building railroads and do the railroad. And then my next big goal is to get mechanized infantry right here, and I'll just click that one and let it fill in all the gaps. But I already have the civics going done, and so we'll replace what I'm doing. I'll have revolution, and I basically get to where the idea is to get to the civics that are the best. Now I like representative just because of the specialist for the science, but eventually universal suffrage is pretty good too. Obviously, we want free speech, we want emancipation, we want free market, we want free religion, and that'll really crank out your culture. The other thing up here is once you start getting to the science to where you really want it, which I'm not quite there yet, probably railroad, I'll start to back, and I'll start to pump this up. Eventually, depending on how the game's going, I may have science to 0. This is the money you're spending. And the idea is, again, to just kind of push out with culture, push out with culture. So, all right, this is thanks for joining us on the Braincast, and this is a little bit different what we've been doing. We're going to get back to some algorithms, some other things as well. But I really just wanted to kind of do something a little bit different. This one's a bit long-winded. Some of these pieces are a little bit more difficult to do as screen captures and stuff. It's kind of hard to kind of keep track of what's going on. But hopefully this is enjoying. Let me know what you think about using cheat codes in Civilization 4. Do you think it's a good idea, bad idea? This is to enhance gameplay. This is not to just, like I keep saying, it's not to obliterate the AI, because we can do that easily. I can, right now, if I wanted to, I could put 2,000 mechanized infantries, and I go around and I can defeat every single city on the map in a matter of a few turns. But that's not what really the purpose of this. It's really to do some goofy things that you wouldn't be able to do otherwise. You wouldn't have the money to do, you wouldn't have the units to do, you wouldn't have the tech, you wouldn't have the culture to do. And this kind of gives a different flavor to the game. But the other thing is, a word of caution: don't get too used to it and then forget how to play it for real. So thanks for stopping by, thanks for clicking like, thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you next time on the Braincast. Bye.